Hey there, Fro Nation, and welcome to another week of FroKnowsPhoto Raw Talk. And this week I have on a photographer out in LA by the name of Jeff Kravitz. You may find him on the red carpet, you may find him backstage, you may find him on tour, you may find him on stage at Bonnaroo. He has been around a long time. Went to school in Temple. You're going to find out a lot about him. Temple in Philadelphia, by the way. You're going to find out a lot about him. He's a really interesting guy. I love hanging out with him. I've never actually shot with him. We've only met a handful of times, but we have a ton of mutual friends. Keep a listen out for all of the great information he's going to give. He tells some really cool stories, but he's just saying it like it is. He's giving out information about the industry that you're really not going to find anywhere else. If you're looking to shoot music or celebrities, you're going to hear what's going on and all the rights grabs and so many different things that you may not have heard before, but listen for the information that he's giving you on how he made it to where he made it to. So in a couple seconds, after I'm done doing the pluggy McPluggersons that we have to do to keep this show alive, let's give it a listen. So I want to thank allenscamera.com. I was just over there. They got in the Nikon D70-100s, bodies and kits, and the new 18 to 35 lens, which I'm going to review and tell you about, and any other gear that you need. If you're in the U.S., they can ship to you. Check out allenscamera.com. Go to allenscamera.com. They have used gear on there. I love buying used gear from there. You can't go wrong with good quality used glass, especially when it's still in warranty for most of the part, for the most part. And you can give them a call, 215-547-2841. If you need any help, they are there to help you. They will help you find out what you need, but they are a mom and pop store, and they supported me from day one on this site, which really helped me continue to make this site survive, really. So I want to thank them. I want to thank Drobo for the Drobos that are sitting on the desk that I have right now. I actually bought those. I bought those too. They sent me a couple of others that I need to test out, the new ones. As soon as I get a new Mac and I have USB 3 or Thunderbolt, I will then be doing reviews of those. But they've given me, I believe I can give away 10 Drobos this year. So that's awesome. The fact that I get to give away a $600 or $700 unit, and you guys could win that for doing just random things is definitely a good thing. I definitely want to thank the Vanguard people. They're going to be doing some of the contests as well for Vanguard to give away tripods for the photo of the month. So I use those Vanguard tripods a lot now, and Alan carries them. Like the 263 AT or any of the 263 series, for under $300, you're getting a really, really stable, sturdy tripod with an awesome head on it. So look it up. Just look up the Vanguard 263, any of the versions, the AT or whatnot, and Alan can hook you up with those. BBO poker tables, still not sitting at that table. Adorama picks. Big thanks to those guys. If you need to get a place to make prints, or those aluminized prints, which are amazing, that you can hang up on a wall, that are printed in, they're infused into aluminum, or just the Adorama Picks photo books that I love those things. I know Adam likes them. I love those things, and I got a bunch of those to give away because I have some to give away. So guys, listen for Jeff Kravitz. It's a really, really good discussion. Listen to the things that he's saying, because there is a ton of information he is doling out. So here it is. Jeff Kravitz, photographer extraordinaire, guitar player, not as much as a photographer, you say. How you been?
I'm great. I'm great. I couldn't be better.
Yeah, you're out there in LA, correct?
Yes, I'm out in Los Angeles. I've been here now since the 80s. I feel like a relic.
Now, did you have big hair back then?
I actually had I rocked a mullet.
You rocked the mullet?
Not like your afro, but...
Well, it's more like a frullet these days.
Yeah, you know, when I look at it now, people are like, wow, when you see a picture of me from the 80s, the hair was all big and stuff. And it's just like, at the time, I wasn't really thinking about it, you know, but now I really can't control my hair. The only thing I can control is the size of my face.
Exactly.
You know.
So, you're from Philly?
I'm from Atlantic City, actually.
Oh, you are from Atlantic City.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Atlantic City, New Jersey. Actually, in Ventnor.
So, so you weren't on the Monopoly board.
Well, no, not technically. Jackson Avenue, which is the last street in Atlantic City, and the first street in Ventnor, did not make it to the Monopoly board. But Ventnor Avenue, which was on the side, did, and you know. My life was a living Monopoly board, and now I'm playing Monopoly for real here in Los Angeles.
Oh, so. Yeah. Well, that is cool. So photography. I know that I don't know your full background. I know we've had discussions when we photographed. I don't think we've ever shot together, but we've met a couple times.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, my background is I went to Temple University after Atlantic City High School. I moved to Philadelphia.
Were you there when Hall & Oates was there?
No, I'm not that old, but thanks.
They're not that old. How old are they?
I'm 50 years old. Those guys are a little bit older. I usually go see Hall & Oates. They'd play the Palestra.
Right.
That'd be a really big deal because it'd be like Hall & Oates at the Palestra. The place would be sold out, packed, foaming fans, and they just come out and they would kill it because those guys are some of the most incredible songwriters in history.
Absolutely.
And definitely represented the hometown. So the vibe inside that Palestra with the Philly band up on stage and all the fans was just something else. Really, that was at the peak of their career.
Yeah.
So and their creative juices, I guess. So I spent a lot of time in Philadelphia. Definitely photographically. I was definitely into the moving image more at the beginning than I was into the still. Like when in our high school, we had a video lab, and I worked in the video lab until I ran out of electives. And then I went into the darkroom, and I was like, I can use these electives. And the darkroom was fun. There were cute girls in class, which always helped.
And it always helps when it's in the dark, too.
In the dark. There's always action in the darkroom, and it comes when you least expect it. So you got to be really careful.
Well, back in high school, before I knew what I was doing with women, we had a color darkroom, and you had to be in pitch black with this girl. And I was such a pussy back then. I mean, I was like a little freaking kid, so nothing ever happened in that darkroom. But I could imagine once you get to college, a lot more happened in the darkroom.
Well, when I got into college, it was kind of the same thing. I got into filmmaking, which is what I went to school for. I went to school for television and film production. And when I got to, at the end of my electives, I needed to do something, and I went back to something I knew was easy enough and something I had good control over, which was photography. And, there was no color photo lab at Temple back in those days. It was all black and white. So the main thing was it was so antiquated when I look at it back at it now. And 2 years ago, I went back to my college and spoke to one of the classes, and the darkroom is now turned into a inkjet printer lab.
Yeah.
There's just inkjet printers and a big table in the middle, and you can sit there and work and send your stuff to the printers, and it's just changed so much more, and in favor of the students, because now you don't have to worry about, am I going to spend $5 on beer, or am I going to spend $5 on film? Now you just put the digital image in. All you have to worry about is storage. So
yeah,
the business has gotten a lot easier, and we didn't have this whole screen in the back of the camera when I started taking pictures. So you actually became a human light meter. Like I could look at a situation and tell you what the ASA setting was, what the ISO, what the shutter speed was, and what your aperture was just by going in, especially in a dark situation. I got really good at saying, okay, I'm going to need 3200 here, and you had to worry about film, and it was a mess.
I mean, that's that pre-visualization. I talk about that all the time, and people are like, how do you know? Like, I play guess the setting with myself. I play guess the setting. You walk into a new venue, and you're like, I think with my D4, I'm going to go to 4000 ISO at f3.5 at 1/800th of a second, and you're like, oh, okay, I was close. I love that guessing game. That's fun.
Yeah, well, I think that after a while, there's so much education your brain can take, and I don't think we ever stop learning. But I think at a certain point, you learn a certain amount of level, and it's something that I learned in guitar playing as much as I learned in photography, was that you learn, but when it comes to doing, you're not thinking about what you learned. You start running on instinct, and you start getting into the flow. And if you let yourself go and stay out of your own way, which is 90% of everybody's problem in life, is that we create our own obstacles. And if you can just let yourself go and be in the moment and focus on what's happening in front of you, all the stuff that you know about the camera, all those settings, when to pull the trigger, your range, what your zoom is, that all becomes instinctual. And I think that's the ultimate goal in any kind of artist, is that you want to be able to let go of the technical stuff and just be able to be into the doing.
Absolutely.
And I think that's really important as a photographer and as a musician too.
So you're wearing a Coltrane shirt. Is that a Jim Marshall shirt?
No. It's not. I don't think so. It's a friend of mine did these album covers. He took the old album covers, and I guess they're he didn't have to pay for them because they were over 25, 30 years old.
Oh,
so
really?
Goes into the, and then he started making all these shirts. So he did a couple different ones that are pretty cool.
Interesting. So in college, did you start working for yourself right after college? Did you start your business?
I started actually when I was in college. You know, if I met somebody that needed something done photographically, I would do it. And, you know, I know people hate to hear the free word, but I would do it, and just to get the experience and be able to work with somebody. And I think photography it's important if you're social, as you know.
Yeah.
If you're a hermit or you're not really good around people, or you stammer or stutter and don't know how to hold a conversation, it can play against you. But, you know, one thing that we got on the East Coast, and you're full of, is personality. Yeah. And that's the one thing that's carried me the most, and probably my greatest attribute, besides my height.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're a big guy.
Yeah, I mean, and ultimately for shooting concerts and being in a crowded space and trying to get a shot, I have a lot more opportunity than the guy your size.
Well, but hey, I got a pink step stool that I bring that allows me. What are you trying to say? Are you trying to say?
I'm not judging. I'm just saying it's true. I mean, you know, height isn't something that you can change. Although I did see these really cool shoes on the internet the other day that if you put them on, you add 5.5 inches to your height.
I may try those.
And I thought it would be really good even for me, like, to wear those things in a concert and get another 6 inches on top of everybody, and then really not have any issues.
Dude, you'll be like 7 foot.
You know what the big issue now is in concert photography, right?
There's too many people with iPhones?
Yes! And they're all sticking them up right in front of your camera. And then you never see the pictures either, which drives me crazy.
Of course.
So, you know, that's the big equalizer now, is that everybody's a photographer.
Oh, yeah, it is. Well, so you're in college, you're doing shoots. Was there any, like, we'll say celebrity type person that you shot back then in college that came along that you did work for?
Celebrity wise?
Any musicians that turned into something, or?
Well, no, not really. I mean, mostly in college, I was just more interested in learning what I was trying to do. When I got out of college, I ended up working for, like, Bell of Pennsylvania and, you know, corporate clients, doing parties.
Bella?
Events.
As in Bella Photography, weddings?
No, in Bell of Pennsylvania, like in Alexander Graham.
Got it.
Okay. So, yeah, that was a thing. You would find somebody that needed a photographer, and it was, you have to shoot this party. And then you'd go shoot the party, and maybe your film would have come out, or maybe, you know, something would. This photography is a learning experience, and anything that could happen to a photographer, from dropping lenses and breaking cameras and dropping rolls of film in the toilet, has happened to me. You know, I've had labs go out with the power go out when my film was in the middle of getting processed. I mean, and
then they had to crank it by hand.
Yeah, they had to finish it up. They got it done. They got it out, but, you know, they really have to be on it. So, you know, I was in business with photo labs for the longest time, but to answer your question, no, I wasn't really looking for celebrities at that time. Yeah, I ran into them here and there. I'd take a couple pictures, but I really didn't understand what I was doing, even when I got to LA and I started taking pictures of celebrities. Well, so, you know,
when did you start your business? The one, was it?
I started Film Magic right in college in Philadelphia. A friend of mine, Larry Solitrin, was an art major over at Tyler, and he made up a business card. And actually, it's funny because I've just found it. And I'll hold it up, and there's the art on it.
Nice.
None of those phone numbers still work. It used to have little guys here doing television production and stuff, because I thought I was going to do TV production. You can see their Klieg lights at the top.
Yeah.
But he named the company Film Magic, and this was the prototype of the first business card. And you know, it's a name that I had just because I wasn't imaginative to come up with anything else.
Sure.
You know, and it's kind of stuck, and, you know, things escalated from there.
Yeah, I've seen, I mean, for anybody out there, that if you look on the internet and you look at celebrity photos, there's a lot of there's a bunch of names that you see all the time, and Film Magic is still, it still says Film Magic next to your name, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. You know, I've gone through 2 different corporate leaders since I've started my company, and, you know, it's always something I kind of resisted, you know, but Wire Image originally was a company that a lot of my friends started out here in LA. You know, it's really interesting over the years. I guess that's the one thing that I look back and see, is the relationships I've made over the years with different friends and different people that have helped me along the way. And the guys from Wire Image were great. You know, at the time, I always was afraid of some kind of corporate environment, and I still am.
Yeah.
But one thing about corporate means money, and we all need money to survive. And, you know, when you learn how to work within a system, it can be fruitful. You know?
You did end up selling, right?
Well, it's not that like I ended up selling my company. What I ended up doing was trading it for stock options, and then we kind of got options out of Getty Images bought us. So they vested my, they became valuable. And then with Getty, I'm now just part of their machine, But they were it was lucky enough that they didn't fold us into Getty Images, and then all of a sudden I wouldn't have Film Magic anymore.
Right.
They saw the value, I mean, you're like, why would Getty have Getty, Wire Image, and Film Magic? And ultimately, it's like if each of them is pulling in money, if you take one away, it's not like that money's going to go automatically to the other company. That money might get dissipated over 10 companies or 20 companies. Who knows? So they held onto their assets, and
Yeah. Did they end up buying your archive? Do they get access to everything you've ever taken?
They have access, but I own every image I've ever shot practically, and except for images that I've done for bands on buyout or a client that insisted on a buyout. Like I did Demi Moore's 40th birthday party, that kind of thing. They wanted to buy out your images, and you understand. You're like, okay, I get it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it's good for business too. So when you get an event like that, you're kind of like, okay, I'll do what I need to do to keep you happy.
So I know you shoot a ton of red carpet things. It's just the perks of the hard work that you put in. You get access to all of this stuff now. They call you.
Well, I mean, I started off not going to every opening of a can of tuna fish in Los Angeles. I mean, it's really easy to get immersed in the culture where you're going to every time they send out a press release. You go there, and then you have an agency, and they sell your images. I got more into the going out when I got called. And so I wouldn't really go to everything. But I started relationships early with Rolling Stone magazine and People magazine and Us magazine. So with them, in those days, when we were shooting film, they would assign a specific photographer. They would have a spot on the carpet.
Right.
Where you'd be the Us magazine or the People guy, or Rolling Stone would call and send you to an event. So through those kind of, that you're working all the time, because Us magazine was sending me out every time there was a premiere in Los Angeles to go shoot it. And then you would bill for the assignment, you would get paid the space rate, and then you would get the pictures back after your embargo, whatever it was, a week or 3 weeks. Or
right. So space rate, I mean, figuring out pricing then, was it something that somebody told you how to do, or did it something you just figured out?
Well, it was something they said, hey, we pay this much for a quarter page, we pay this much for a full page, and then if you got an exclusive, it was the kind of thing you negotiated.
Right.
When I first started, before I got involved with Wire Image and Getty, I spent, and that's only been in the past 7 to 8 years I've been involved with them, and I've been in business almost 25 years. And in those early years, I was my booking agent, I was my assignment editor, accountant, and bookkeeper. And I would, I'd be my client interface. I would be the shooter, and the guy who did the messenger runs to the lab and dropped the stuff off to the client. It was like a full day of me just driving around Los Angeles, and I would live in one part of town. My lab would be in Hollywood, and just before I went digital, Jared, I almost bought a photo lab.
Oh yeah, we've all been through that. I know. I looked into a color lab once for doing weddings, and it's just like, wait a second, digital's right here, where you can just.
It was such a long wait for me, because digital came into my life in the year 2000, and I was one of the guys in town to embrace it first. I went digital as soon as I humanly could. As soon as I saw that the magazines were taking the images, I was like, do it. But I was always kind of different when it came to my medium. I mean, a lot of guys, when I first started, it was black and white and color slide. And I did that for a little while, but then I switched everything to color neg, because I realized you can make good black and whites, you could make good color prints, and I could retain the originals forever. A lot of my photographer friends that were all shooting in-camera dupes on their slides and taking their stuff out have lost a lot of their originals over the years, because magazines got them, or this agency had them, or that agency had them, so they lost control of them. So I never really lost control for, I would say, the majority. My first 2 or 3 years, a lot of that stuff's in slide. I kind of have most of that stuff. I'd say 80, 90% of it. But what I really have is every negative sheet that I've shot from, up to 2000. So
how come you haven't put out a book? It'd be fun to see.
You know what? It's a lot of work, and I feel like I'm still creating. And I go into like Barnes and Noble, and what do you see over there in the discount aisle?
You just self-do it. You just self-publish, man. I mean, you go to Kickstarter these days, like the musicians do. And
I know, it's unbelievable, isn't it?
And you skip everybody else, and you self-publish a book. You raise the funds through your friends who are all there. I mean,
Jay Blakesberg just did that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that, but he just did that with a book. And I saw last night, I saw a report this morning about these people that did a Kickstarter yesterday for 2 hours to raise $2 million to remake The Eyes of Laura Mars.
It was what is it called?
Was it Eyes of Laura Mars?
No, it's Ari would know. It's something Mars, Veronica Mars.
Well, Veronica Mars.
Yeah, they raised
Eyes of Laura Mars would have been much better.
They had $1 million within like 4 hours, and then unbelievable. There's still 30 days left, but I mean, it's just unbelievable. If you have an idea and you have the following, you can do anything. You really can get anything going and funded.
I'll get on it today.
Well, okay, so you find yourself on the red carpet a lot. I see all of your shots from like. Did you do the Oscars this year?
Yeah, sure. The Oscars. I was at the Super Bowl. I was at the Oscars. I was at the Grammy Awards. I've made it my thing to try to get into all the cool stuff that I want to be at.
So you're there. You encounter the so-called the paparazzi. How do you deal with that?
Well, I mean, these guys, it's amazing to me what's really happened with the paparazzi industry. I mean, now it's any image. It doesn't even matter. You can get it on your phone. It's all what the content is, who's inside that frame. Has nothing to do with quality.
Yes.
What sells is the moment, and it's a really interesting world we're in now because everybody has a camera. There's no privacy whatsoever.
Has that driven down the prices of those exclusive things, or
No, what drove down the prices was the economic crash. The economic crash when all the magazines called you, or they called up the agencies and said, unless we can cut our rates by 50 to 70%,
wow,
we can't be in business anymore.
Phew.
So you either play ball with us, or you're not going to have any revenue stream coming.
Tough.
I mean, yeah, tough business. And what really set us off was the internet was such an unexpected boom when it came to photography. I mean, I don't think there's anybody that could foretell the death of the magazine, and that's pretty much everything now is on I read everything online. Yeah. I try not to have, I have some magazines, of course, in the bathroom and stuff like that, but it's not like I see them on planes and I know that that's what's driving the income. But we were given the internet kind of sweetheartish deals in the beginning, just because it wasn't really taken seriously. And then when we went to go close it up, the internet went up, publishing went down, publishing pulled our money, the internet had it all, so we had to negotiate there. And now it amazes me how cheap some of the images are sold on the internet.
Oh, I was with an agency for a little bit, and when I got a statement and it's like, we sold your image for $10, I said, screw you, I'm done. I'm not giving it away.
Well, I mean, here's the fact of the matter, and it's a numbers game. So they sell your picture for 1,000 times at $10.
Sure.
And that's pretty much what it is with Getty. I mean, it's such a big machine, and they're selling to places that you could not fathom.
But you're doing topical. Sale. You're doing topical work. You're doing things that's happening now, like the Oscars.
Exactly.
They want those pictures.
I'm not selling art here, Jared. Let's get that straight.
Right, and
I'm fully immersed in commerce.
And that's the JPEG aspect, right?
Well, I mean, look here. I mean, as opposed to RAW, yes. I mean, if I was shooting art, like if I was Peter Lick, I would need a 130 megabyte file. But let's face it, I'm not shooting landscape. I'm shooting a picture of Charlize Theron on the carpet, and my camera is wired to an editor who's sitting up in a room. And we want that not only is my camera wired, but the other 100 photographers there's cameras are wired.
And you have to be the first one up.
Right, and it's a thing of speed, and it's a thing of a moment. And, ultimately, I think that the technology of being able to work with images that might not be raw to make them beautiful and big is getting better and better. The genuine fractal, all those kinds of programs that can extrapolate and make the image a little bit better than where it started, you know?
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't agree with that end of it, doing that extra work, but I totally understand why the JPEGs are done in what you're doing. It's not and the JPEGs are, for the most part, very, very good for what just about anybody needs. We know that. It's that instant stuff. Are you shooting you're shooting wired? Are you doing any of the wireless transmitting through your D4s at all?
Well, yeah, I have. I actually bought a couple of the devices, and I have my little router, and we tried to do it at the Super Bowl, but the problem with the Super Bowl was that the whole place has so many RF signals running around.
Yeah.
That it was a lot quicker to just have a messenger behind me and give him the image. I mean, it's never quicker than it is coming out of your camera.
Right.
But having to deal with getting through all the other signals, it was really impossible. I had to actually hand off the card.
Wow.
So it all depends on the situation where you're shooting. I know we're using it on the red carpet now. You know, either the devices are so small, those transmitters are just like, they're tiny.
And everybody, they want the stuff instant. They do. I mean, you win in speed, or do you get exclusive spots?
Well, yeah, I have exclusive access that I've got over the years. I pretty much try not to shoot from behind the red rope as much as possible. So at the Oscars or a big event like that, of course, I'm going to go behind the red rope and do what you have to do. But, you know, 9 times out of 10 when I'm out there, I try to be somewhere where I have better access than 90% or 95% of the photographers there. And that kind of gives you a different perspective, you know, and also doesn't kind of lump you in with the whole group, you know.
Yeah, and
you want to stand out.
Well, that's something that I talk about all the time, is especially with live music photos today. Every music photo is going to look the same from venue to venue to venue of the same band, no matter what, unless you set yourself apart and do something slightly different.
Shooting rock and roll is impossible. I mean, you know, it's really, really hard to make a living. I don't know how many people that aren't on a trust fund that are out there shooting concerts in the summer really are making a living at it. This will be my 12th year shooting the Bonnaroo Music Festival. Superfly Presents is one of my clients, and I have seen such a turnover in that photo pit that it's unbelievable. Yeah. It's not like you have the same guys there after 12 years. It's like there's maybe 1 or 2 guys that have been there the whole run, and then the rest of it are people that are just coming out from college, got a photo credit, want to go have fun for the summer,
right?
You know, have their digital camera their parents gave them and go out and take some pictures. And it's more like an adventure for them and a free pass, and it gets some access. You know, it's exciting. It's exciting to be down there. I mean, I get it, but the revenue in it, I don't know where it's coming from.
It's not there.
No.
I don't think it's ever been there. And the funny thing is, you look at a Jim Marshall, you look at all these guys that were shooting in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. You come around 30, 40, 50 years later, now they're starting to sell some of that work for good money.
Well, the interesting thing, you look at Jim Marshall and you look at Henry Diltz, and really the amount of time that they spent at the top was just such a small slice. I mean, Jim Marshall, I mean, that was 7 years or so. I mean, I've been shooting for 25 years. I don't know, why do you stop? Why do you not shoot anymore?
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I know that Jim continued to shoot. I just also know that he ran into trouble in the 80s. But just interesting stuff in the 80s.
Well, you know, drugs and alcohol are probably the downfall of 95%. Now prescription drugs, obviously.
Yeah, that's bad.
Careers.
Well, yeah, so yeah, you're out in L.A. You see quite a bit. Did you post on your Facebook that you were dropping off one of your kids to Bob Dylan's grandson's bar mitzvah?
A granddaughter's.
Granddaughter?
I mean, this is L.A. You know, I live in an area that, you know, is a really nice area. It's Santa Monica, Brentwood area is amazing, and we have a ton of people that live in the neighborhood, from Spielberg to the Schwarzeneggers to, you know, Jacob Dylan and his kids. And you know, Bob Dylan's coffee shop and boxing ring and recording studio is about 7 blocks from where I'm sitting right now. So he's got a really cool coffee shop here called 18th Street Coffee Shop.
Nice.
Coffee house or something like that. So, I mean, this is California. This is Southern California. That stuff happens. And it's the weirdest conversations with my kids, you know. And the funny thing was, I sent my wife and my daughter and I were on a text because we had arranged who's going to pick her up and stuff. And I said to my daughter, "How was it?" And she said, "Fun." And I was like, "Did Bob show up?"
Who?
And my wife immediately was like, "Who's Bob?" And I'm like, "Bob Dylan, honey. Relax. Your daughter's not in a relationship with a guy named Bob."
At 13.
But, you know, the kids wouldn't even, you know him if he sat on them. It wouldn't be like, "Oh, yeah, Bob Dylan, I love you." They'd be like, "Oh, look at the old guy in the corner."
Yeah. I mean, that's crazy stuff. So we've gone through a lot of what you shoot. You're working with Getty. You shoot a lot of the concerts.
Yeah, well, I do a lot of festivals because kind of in the summertime, like I said, I can't be on that red carpet all the time. I would go absolutely nuts. I mean, it really is the ultimate in posing when you're just watching everybody come down. It's like the easiest job ever. I mean, think about that. I would never even gone to college if someone said to me, "You're going to stand out in front of an entrance. Someone's going to walk in front of you. They're going to stop. You're going to take their picture, and that's your living."
Yeah.
I was like, okay. Definitely don't need college for that one, because it's really the simplest job. Like, I was amazed because I always put so much more into my photography as a student than I did when I came out here and I saw what it was. I'm like, really? Yes. Did you get it full length? And I was like, what? I got to take a picture of a dress now? Did you get a picture of her shoes? Oh, I got to take a close-up of a pair of shoes? You got to be kidding me. It's painful, but you know what? It's revenue generating, and it allows me to do the stuff I love, which is the music photography, and to go out and be on the road most of the summer with some of the best bands in the world, and get really visceral, exciting images. And I can get on stage at a lot of these festivals and get angles that other people don't get.
Yeah.
So it really an amazing opportunity I've had, but you have to want it to get it. This was something that I definitely was after. It was something that I coveted.
And like you said, you have to do the things that pay the bills in order to allow you to shoot the things you truly love.
Well, I think the great factor, the equalizing factor in life is money. We all need it. I don't like it. I don't like the fact that I need it. I don't like the fact that I have to work. I don't think anybody does. But without money, you can't survive unless you're a farmer and you're solar powered or whatever. At some point, you need to make a living. And I have a lot of friends that come out here that want to be actors and want to be musicians and want to be photographers even. And I'm like, look, figure out how to make money. Doesn't matter if it's in what you really want to do, because if you make enough money, then later you could say, okay, now I'm going to make a movie and I'm going to be the actor,
sure,
or I'm going to be a photographer, because you have the leeway. That's what I mean when I say a lot of the photographers are trust fund kids. If you're not worried about where the money's coming from, then you could go, hey, I'm a rock and roll photographer.
Right.
But there's so few people that you could meet that can actually wear that badge. And even me, I'm a part-time rock and roll photographer because I got to work that red carpet to really, pull in the dollars.
Sure. So who do you take with? Do you take a whole team with you to Bonnaroo, to all these different music events?
Well, usually we take about a half a dozen photographers, anywhere from 4 to 6 photographers and 4 to 6 editors,
Wow. Do you know my phone's never rung for that once?
Yeah, well, I'm sure you wouldn't like the rights grab on that. So, I mean, that's again, I'm looking for young people to come work for me also, that are hungry, that want to do it relatively
What's the rights grab? You take everything, right?
Yeah, of course. You don't own a thing.
You know what? But here, let me just tell you this. When it comes to live shooting, you can own the shit out of that all you want, because it will be good because I'm taking it, for one. But two, I don't know. I would consider it.
The thing is, if I'm working for the promoter, let's say, the promoter wants to do a book, I don't want to have to come back to you and negotiate, basically. If the promoter wants to use your stuff for advertising,
yeah,
I don't. It's like, okay, I'm going to pay you for the day. And this is happening a lot now with a lot of the agencies too. They hire people, you do your day's work, and you don't own those pictures.
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you had a staff job at AP or a staff job at Getty. The company owns your imagery, and the company's getting more and more into that. People like me are an anomaly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really hard to hold on to your material.
Yeah, and and I see that with Live Nation. I get calls from Live Nation, and they call and they want you to do it all for nothing, but they want you to give them everything so they can do whatever they want with it. And you have to start making those choices, and it is a trade-off. If they pay you well enough to give up the rights, then by all means. But a lot of times you can work. I've found where I can work it out where it's like, I'll let you use the images for what you need them for. I'm still going to maintain the rights.
Yeah, I think that if you can do that, it's great. But I think a lot of the rock and roll stuff is buyout because the bands want to have it for what they need. And, the real issue is that someone's going to come in there and undersell you. Yeah. So you'd be like, you know what? I'm not going to work for $1,000. I need $1,500 if you want all the rights. Someone else is going to be like, I'll do it for $400.
Right.
Because, they just got the camera, and who knows? It's a crapshoot. I mean, you're not going to look at every picture I shoot before I edit, but I'm going to show you the best stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not, there's 3,000 pictures. I'm going to pick out the 100 best or the 50 best shots out of all 3,000. There's some stuff in there. You're going to look at it, it's going to be out of focus. The framing is going to be off. I'm going to miss a moment. Something's going to go wrong. Not every picture looks amazing, and I think that you have to be a judicious editor, of course, and be able to pull out the gold and make yourself look good.
Absolutely. At the same time. Well, that's the thing. And, I was shooting the Jay-Z concert. I didn't see you there. You weren't there for that.
Which
Welcome
one was
to
that?
America.
Oh, the one in Philadelphia?
Yeah.
No, I didn't come out for that. I mean, I shoot Jay-Z, that's once a year. So it's not like I'm going to be like, oh, I go to Philadelphia to shoot Jay-Z because, and then I get there and I got to compete with you and everybody else is going to, I don't know who's going to sell their pictures, but, AP's giving them away.
Well, you had, what's his name there? The guy you see everywhere.
Mazer.
Mazer.
My friend Kevin Mazer, yes.
Is he your friend, or was that a...
Yeah, no, absolutely. We're good friends.
I said hi to him. He didn't know me. He wasn't going to know me, but I said hi anyway.
Yeah, Kevin's a great guy. You know, he works very, very hard. He's got amazing relationships, and he's been able to parlay it into a great career. And I think that that's it. If people like you, they like having you around. That's part of the battle.
Yeah, and he does a lot of the, you know, you hear things like he's the exclusive shooter for this, which means he's the only one there shooting.
Yeah, he was the only one to shoot the Pink concert opener. One photographer. Then they sent out a selection. You know, people are wising up. You know they don't need 10, 15 photographers in that pit anymore.
That's
a lot
fine.
of the other trend that I'm seeing is where they're not allowing Lady Gaga no photography this tour, not even Kevin Mazur, or maybe Kevin did shoot, but he's got to do approval. But you know, I tried to get in even with approval, they weren't accepting me. So you know, he definitely has a foothold in the industry and has a lot of great relationships. So,
and that's for the big shows. I mean, that's not saying, we're not talking about the little, you go to the TLA in Philly and you're shooting the 800-seat venues, or standing room only, but they want you to shoot those. Like, people, the bands don't mind giving you passes, but they expect you to give them their photos.
Well, that's the other thing, is the rights grabs inside the contracts that the bands are sending out, where that even if you're on assignment for a magazine, the band wants to own all your rights and be able to use it for what they want for free.
It's just bullshit.
And, you know, of course it's bullshit.
Do you sign those, or do you just cross things out you don't agree with and then turn them in, or put somebody else's name on there?
No, Getty usually will arrange, because, you know, everything I do has to be corporate and upright, because we don't want to have any legal issues, you know, and we will cooperate fully with the publicists and with the people involved, because, you know, we want to work the next time and the next time and the next time. So they know your oops, sorry.
It's all right. No problem.
If they know your reputation, they know you're reputable, and they know they can trust you. I mean, you know, you don't want to break the trust for a one-time shot.
No.
No, it's not really worth it, because what's going to happen next time comes around?
You're done.
Yeah, you can't really burn bridges. I mean, you can if you don't want to do it again. You don't want to be with that client anymore. You don't want to take those pictures anymore if the client screwed you out of money and you're like, I can't work with this anymore. But really, you know, you want to stay in the middle there. I mean, like you're talking about Jim Marshall, and you know, the thing about it is keeping your head, not losing control.
You mean not putting a gun in somebody's mouth and pulling the trigger and having it misfire?
Yeah, or you're not blowing your brains out on cocaine and blowing your liver out on alcohol, and you know, trying to just like keep a happy medium where you're in control of your life and in control of your urges and in control of the system, so you're not constantly like, you know, you don't lose it. You know, and you lose your opportunity, you know, because it's a gift. You know, life is a gift. Our job's a gift. You know, the way we work is a gift.
Well, and there's so many people trying to do what you're doing right now that if you don't, that compromise thing is more and more evident today than it's ever been since I've been shooting. And, you know, I've been shooting 18 years. I know I started at 13, but I wasn't doing that professionally. I've been doing music for like 10 or 11 years, and even in my time, a lot has changed.
Yeah, you can't look a gift horse in the mouth. We're lucky to be photographers. You know, when you tell people you're a photographer, you see them go, "Wow, really?" And you make a living at that. You know, and you know, yeah, you can make a living at that. You know, you just have to be smart about it. You know, you have to create something out of nothing. You know, we are all figments of our imagination. So why not imagine something great for yourself?
Yeah.
You know. Just imagine yourself in a great place and try to do what it takes to get there. Look at the process, you know, talk to people, get feedback.
Have you found that a lot of what you've gotten has been because you are able to talk to people? You're able to just, I don't know, get them to trust you?
Well, I mean, I think the important thing is being able to talk to anybody, from a president to a pauper, you know. How do you address them? How do you talk to them? You know, and you know, also what you're talking about, the conversation. You know, like if you go up to somebody that's incredibly famous and you're like, dude, when you were in that movie and you did this,
right?
That was so funny. That's kind of like the last thing anybody really wants to hear. You know, but if you're talking to somebody and you know. You see they're wearing a shirt and you're like, hey, you like John Coltrane? Wow, I love him. I love this record. I love that record. You know, you riff it into, you talk about things that are real. People want to have real experiences. You know, they want to talk about life. Can you hear me?
Yeah, no, I said yeah. I said absolutely. Yeah. No, because that's true. It's like when you're in LA, you can get mired in the bullshit of the celebrity aspect, but like I've learned this from musicians. If you just sit backstage, either they're going to start talking to you randomly, or you can start bullshitting about something. Know something. Like, how many of these bands have photographers that are musicians, and they just start like, oh, what camera is that? And then you just start talking, and then they realize you realize they're just human beings that so happen to be musicians.
Yeah, well, I think that's the thing is you treat everybody like a human being.
Yeah.
And all of us have a job. We're all trying to do it. We're all trying to survive. You know, Slash is just as stoked to be up there getting his picture taken and play guitar as you are to be there taking this picture. You know, so you know we're all happy to be doing what we're doing, and we all get jazzed out of it. You know, it's just really cool to be involved and be able to work in this field.
So
you know?
who influenced you growing up in photography?
Photograph? Well, you know, I read all the magazines. I started off with the comics, of course, like Mad Magazine, and I guess that's where I got a lot of my humor and sensibility. But then I got into Cream and Circus and those crazy rock magazines where I'd be looking at Neil Preston's pictures of The Who and Led Zeppelin, and I'd be like, whoa, to tour with The Who?
Yeah.
That'd be so cool. Or Pete Townsend jumping in front of you every night? I mean, come on, that's got to be rad. So, you know, I definitely looked at Neil's stuff as a kid growing up, you know. He was an influence, and a lot of those early guys, you know. I saw Jim Marshall's stuff, of course, but I really didn't know who he was when I was a teenager and stuff like that. You know, later years I did, but you know, I was definitely into the image. I was a very visual guy. My dad was in media. He's a radio talk show host in Atlantic City, still on the air after 50 years. So I was always at big events.
Right.
I was always at you know, media events. I was always on the press side. So coming from that, I really kind of realized that I modified what my dad had, where he does what he does about talking. I do it in the visual image, but I still put my places I put myself in historical places. You know, I make it my business to be at places where I think the world's all watching.
Right.
You know, and then stuff happens. You know, before Janet Jackson popped her boob at the Super Bowl, I was backstage and she was getting ready, and I came up to her and I said, "Yo, hey Janet, right here for Kevin Mazur." And I took a couple pictures and I put the camera back down, and she saw I wasn't Kevin Mazur, and she started laughing. And then Kevin went up and he took a couple pictures and he goes, "Yeah, Kravitz, you cracked Janet Jackson up." She loved that. And you know, that's what it is. You got to have a line, you got to have a sense of humor, you got to be able to work it, you know.
And it's fun. And honest to God, if you see the same people in the pit or you see the same people in the line, it becomes fun because you all are in it together. So I mean, I found that here that it's great. After 10 years, you do see very few of the same people, but it is cool to just show up. It's like a little reunion type thing.
Oh yeah, there's a camaraderie amongst all the shooters. You know, we definitely all understand what we're doing, and there's the competition level.
Yeah.
Where look what this photographer got. Look what that photographer. I'll show you. Here. This is a crazy. Oh wait, is that on my desk? Where is it? Hold on. I had these business cards. You know, these Moo cards printed up.
Yeah.
And just, you know, to show you, this is quick. This is a picture. Where am I? Okay. This is a picture of Eddie Vedder holding up the peace sign, right?
Yep.
So this is at Bonnaroo. He's in the middle of the song. He threw that peace sign up for probably a second.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what was at the end of his fingers when I took the picture until I looked in the back of the camera and I saw I got it. Out of 60 guys in the pit, I was the only one to pull the frame of the peace sign. So it becomes a whole instinctual thing.
Absolutely.
And it happened last year again with at the Super Bowl when MIA threw the middle finger.
Right.
You know, or this year at the Oscars when Jennifer Lawrence walked into the room and flipped the middle finger. I was really surprised how many guys actually got it. There were probably about a dozen guys that actually got great shots of the middle.
You know why? Because they just motor drive. They spray and pray.
Well, no, well, you also watching, and you know there were a lot of guys. But there were 60 photographers in that room. 1/6 of them pulled the image.
Right.
You know, so a lot of people were like, "Oh, I got the hand going up. Oh, I got it just after she pulled it down. Oh, you know." So it's that instant. It's when that hand shoots up and you get the peace sign, or when you get the middle finger, you don't even understand why you're shooting the frame.
But you feel it.
It's instinctual. Like I was talking in the beginning, you got to get out of your way. When you go there, you can't be thinking about stuff. You can't be chimping in the back of the camera every minute. You just got to be in the moment, you know?
You feel the moment, and that's what it comes down to. And, you know, when I was shooting Silvertide last week, you know how Nick is. You know how Nick plays,
he's
right?
Crazy.
So I've shot Nick a lot, and I've toured with Nick, whether it was with Perry Farrell or Shinedown. But, you know, this show, I was in the right places for the right things to happen. Like, I put myself there with the right lens, the right everything, to prepare myself for when he went into this solo that I've never seen him do before, where he's jumping and he's doing his back bends, and I'm capturing stuff that, well, nobody else is getting because I'm the only one right there.
Right. Well, you got to be, if you know the act, it really helps.
Yeah.
When you've worked with a band before and you really know their music and understand their performance and how they do it, I mean, it really, it's really fun. I mean, with Bonnaroo, the band's changed so fast that, you know, and the great thing about Bonnaroo is I get to shoot the whole set, and I can also shoot from all over. So I can move all over the stage. And a couple years ago, I had the Nationals and Phoenix were on the same bill. And I ran up there. As I ran into the pit for the National, I saw a mic cord from the stage into the pit. I was like, where is that going? And the lead singer had taken the microphone into the crowd and was working the crowd and worked his way totally around, got carried on everybody's hands.
Yeah.
I was the only guy. I walked in. At the moment I saw it, I'm like, what the hell's going on? But you assimilate, you figure it out. You're like, okay, I've only shot the band a couple times. This is this guy's act. He's in the audience. He's working the mic in the audience. Everybody's holding the cord over their heads, you know. And then Phoenix, the same thing. I was there at the end of their set. I went in for the last 20 minutes. He comes running into the audience, gets up on stands on the the barricade, and the picture of him with the beautiful sky and the crowd with a great light. I mean, you know, it's all timing. It's all understanding what's happening in the show and when you're going to get that interaction.
And that access you have. I mean, to shoot the whole show, you know how much easier it is to shoot when 40 people get out of the pit and get out of your way, and you can just concentrate on capturing the moment.
Right. Or, well, the main thing there is trying to figure out what songs you're going to shoot from the pit, when you're going to go back to the soundboard,
right?
Where you're going to go on stage, what side of the stage, you know. And a lot of those great jumping shots that I've got from the stage are usually the last 15 to 20 minutes of a set. Yep. I mean, that's when all the gold happens, because that's when they're giving their all. They're just like laying it all out there because they've been saving their energy to make it through the whole show, and then those last 15 minutes are just like rah, you know. So get great stuff.
What
opportunity? It's all about opportunity, Jared.
And we're going to get to that in a second, but what's next for you? What's the future of Jeff Kravitz? Where are you going?
Well, next week I have a pretty exciting week. I'm doing Game of Thrones. HBO's been one of my clients for over 20-some-odd years, 25 years now.
I'm excited.
And they are doing a premiere here in Los Angeles. Then they're doing, the next night, they're doing a Q&A at the Chinese Theater for the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, who give out the Emmys.
Right.
Then we're flying to San Francisco and doing a premiere there. And then we're flying to Seattle and doing a premiere there.
So do you get on, is it like a private plane? Or
yeah, it's a private jumbo jet, and then all the hotels are 5 stars. It's a pretty incredible. HBO is probably one of the most incredible companies in the world. They still have a budget, which is rare for a lot of companies because they're different, you know,
right.
and they do the greatest programming. I mean, it's been a real opportunity over the years to watch that network grow into what it is, and I'd be there for everything. I was there for Sex and the City and The Sopranos and all their really big shows. I was there. I was in all the private parties. And
you got girls.
What?
Do you do girls?
What do you mean?
No, the show Girls.
Oh, the show. I was like, what? Excuse me? You know what? Girls hasn't had a premiere yet. Usually the first season, it's kind of a soft thing, and then if they get picked up another year, then they'll have a big premiere. It all depends on what the show is. Like Game of Thrones has not had a premiere in the 3 years it's been on.
Right. So
this is the first year they're doing it, and that's why they're doing 4 days, because they have to fly everybody in from all over the world. Those actors, they all work in Belfast 90% of the time is where they shoot. So they have to live in Ireland, and it's really cold too when they shoot. We were out there in Ireland, and my friend of mine was working on the set, and it's pretty crazy.
So photography, that's pretty amazing that you worked yourself in, you're there. Now thinking a couple years down the road, are you done at some point? Are you going to stop shooting? I mean, let's put it this way: my tolerance for the other idiots that are picking up cameras, it dissipates every day. I'm like, how much longer can I deal with it? And and also the publicists, the rights grabs, everything like that. But I don't know what else I would do that's this visceral and exciting. And I think that's what I really like. I mean, if I could afford to stop, would I? Probably not, because it gets you out of the house. Who doesn't want to go to the Super Bowl? Right.
Who doesn't want to be on the red carpet of the Oscars? I mean, it's heady stuff, and I get a lot of mileage out of it. I write my blog, and that's an outlet for people to see my work and be able to, see what I'm up to. And really, if you look at my blog, I think the most interesting thing is the diversity of what I shoot.
Well, tell everybody your blog.
It's InsideCelebPics.com.
Got it.
So if you look up Jeff Kravitz blog or Inside Celeb Pics, you'll be directed to it. And, you know, it's hard. It's a lot of work. And, you know, because I put like 50, 60, 70 pictures up, you know, at a time and try to come up with a little funny caption and, you know, try to write about my experience about being there. And, you know, something always interesting happens, you know.
Well, you know, with the Super Bowl, you had the whole Beyonce photo thing. That wasn't you. You weren't that photographer. But
no, to get all the bad pictures?
Well, you know what? You're going to get those bad pictures. But if you start making a big deal, should they have put those out there?
Well, I mean, I didn't. Personally, my editor didn't.
Because you don't.
Because, you know, I want to work again. I don't want Beyonce's publicist calling me and being like, Kravitz, how did you post these crappy pictures of Beyonce? I'll be like, I'm sorry, I'll take them down. I want everybody to look good. You know, I'm not trying to make people look bad.
Well, then that's when I sat with Jim Marshall the couple times I got to go out with him in New York. He talked about how he edited everything, and nobody had ever complained about the pictures that he released. Now,
well, you know, he added a great deal of trust with the bands, and then maybe who knows, the bands might have been afraid of him, thinking that he might shoot him if he if they had an issue.
That is true.
You know, personally, I have great editors at Getty. I edit, I would say, about a third of what I shoot. You know, mostly a lot of the smaller stuff, smaller movie premieres and things like that. But all the big stuff I shoot, like the Super Bowl and the Oscars, we have a full editing team, sometimes 50 people sitting in a room editing pictures, you know.
So that's really cool.
Out thousands of pictures. I mean, I don't really understand, like, and I never understood how I could walk into a room of 60 photographers all taking the same picture and then walk out of there making any money, you know. So I'm amazed how the system works or that it works at all. But it does. You know, not a lot of people know what to do with the photographs.
Right.
They're just there because they can be there. You know, it gets them out of the house, whatever their excuse is. You know, it's something to do at night. They have a boring job during the day. This is their spice. You know.
Sure.
So it's a balance for sure.
Well, sometimes, you know, you said you were looking for people to go out to some of these shows. You're looking for young and hungry photographers. If we yeah, do you want to put that out there that you're looking for that and how they contact you?
The thing about it is that with Bonnaroo, I pretty much got a crew of guys every year like, we're coming back next year.
Right.
And even the editors are, you know, a couple editors are like, I'm never doing Bonnaroo again. And a couple editors are like, oh yeah, we're going to Bonnaroo with Kravitz.
Nice.
You know, so, you know, they want to go. So it's kind of hard to like get in now because I've been at it 12 years. I've had to build teams over the years.
Sure.
And I've had everything happen with photographers where guys left me in the middle of Bonnaroo because some emergency happened at home and stuff like that, or when somebody get lost tripping their brains out in the woods of Tennessee and you don't see them for another 4 months. So, you know, you can have anything happen out there. So you have to be, you have to have a team you can trust to get the job done.
Oh, absolutely. It's all trust.
You don't want to hear from the promoter later. Hey, you know, this happened with one of your crew. So, and that has happened to me too.
That's bad. And that's the hard thing because you have to trust people.
Because you're judged by the people you have on your team, basically, when it comes down to it. So you got to make sure you're using people that you can trust and people that can handle the job.
And that's the thing, you know, touring. I mean, have you toured on the road? Have you been on the buses?
Yeah, but not for any length of time because it doesn't really pay for me.
Like 4 days, more, less?
Yeah, like 4 or 5 days, something like that.
That's my limit. My limit's like 4 days.
I cannot do like a 6-week tour because I have so many other things happening up that I have to be here for besides my family.
Right.
You know, my wife and 3 kids. You definitely have to keep the balance, and you don't want to make your wife mad.
No.
Because then you end up in the doghouse.
Literally.
So, you know, ultimately, you want to keep all your balls in the air, personally, professionally, financially, and, you know, you want to be able to push the envelope as much as you can with the technology. You know, you want to understand what you're working with. You want to understand the process of it.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and I think that's the part that's most important for anybody that's trying to break into it.
It sounds good. I think we've covered quite a bit and gotten a lot of information about you, and they can check out the blog and basically Google you, and I'm sure they'll find a ton of work from you.
Yeah, I've shot over 1 million frames, and I have about 300,000 searchable images on the Getty brands.
Where do you store your images? Do you store them yourself?
Well, Getty has some of my stuff, and then I have drives here, double drives, and I have an assistant who's organizing everything to like pull together. Because I have some stuff that's in negative form, I have some stuff that's on CDs, I have some stuff that's on drives. So now we're just trying to pull everything together and put it on one comprehensive drive. 4, 8 terabytes, whatever it could be, that could encompass everything.
Well, the Drobos can do that if you get a Drobo or a couple of them, and then you can ship out to Amazon Glacier these days for deep storage. Like Amazon Glacier is the 3rd or 4th line of defense. You just send them 2, 3 hard drives, and they'll deep store it for however long, and it's not that expensive.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll look into that. You're a wealth of information.
I try.
Any more questions?
No, I think we're good, man. I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me and talking to everybody out there.
Well, I love the business, and I love the opportunity. I love meeting people, and I just it always interests me to see a new talent come up. I've helped a ton of people in their lives become photographers and get involved in the career, and I really think it's important to always be on the search for new talent. Everybody has a camera now.
Yep.
So you got to be careful out there, and you got to cut your individual path. So,
yeah. Sounds
thanks
good.
for the talk, Jared. It was great talking to you. I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you very much for coming on, and there you have it, guys. I am going to, I'll sign off now, and then we'll hang on up, all right? Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya. And thank you guys for listening this week to FroKnowsPhoto Raw Talk. Big thanks to Jeff for all of the information that he just brain dumped on us there. He says it like it is. He's a real deal guy. He's out there in LA shooting. He's worked his way up to the top of what he does. He shoots what he shoots. He shoots because he loves it. He shoots because he makes money at it. And he shoots because it allows him to go shoot stuff that he really loves. So I thank him very much for the information. Check out his blog. Just Google Jeff Kravitz blog, and you'll come up with his photo blog, which is there's some cool things that I like. I like seeing what he's shooting on there. I'm checking it out quite often, and you can follow him on Facebook and all of that good stuff. But a big thanks to Jeff. I want to thank allenscamera.com again. I want to thank Drobo, Vanguard, Adorama Pics, and me. I want to thank me. Thank you, Jared. Thank you for another Raw Talk. And there you have it, guys. Thank you for listening, and we will see you in the future of Raw Talk. I'll sign off again. Jared Polin, FroKnowsPhoto.com. See ya.